Okay, so I'm back. I'm at mile marker 66 on the Laurel Highlands hiking trail. I'm doing this on June 4th, 2016. It's about 6:23. And we're going to hike to mile 67. Actually, just kind of slowly jog to 67. My name is Mike Ciccone, and I live about an hour and 20 minutes from the northern end of the trail, which is in Seward, PA. I'm north of Pittsburgh. The southern end, Ohio Powell, takes me maybe an hour and 40 minutes, so I can get out here a few times a year. You know, it's on the weekends and whatnot. I know I've done some ultra events that are like, 6, 8, 10 hours away, and yeah, I definitely can't get out there, so hopefully this will help people that aren't from around here. So I'm 66 here now. I'm going down a little bit, kind of descending into a little gully. Still pretty much on the summit ridge of Laurel Mountain, also known as Laurel Ridge, Laurel Hill, and Laurel Summit. And there's probably a few other names for it too, I don't know. It is in the heart of the Laurel Mountains, which is a higher area in southwest Pennsylvania. I think it would be the probably like a western extension of the Allegheny Mountains, which are generally, they consider those to be a little further east, but you got Laurel Mountain and Chestnut Ridge, going from east to west. To the east, then a little as you get into the Allegheny Mountains, you have some other mountains, but the difference between the Valley and Ridge Mountains, once you get past Allegheny Mountain, is that they you drop down to maybe 800 feet or 500 feet, and then there's big ridges that go up. They might go to 2,000 feet, but there's a lot more difference in elevation between the mountains. When you come up, if you're coming from Pittsburgh up Chestnut Ridge, you go up from about 12 or 1,300 feet, which is the highest most of western Pennsylvania is. When you're west of these mountains and you just come up this big rise up Chestnut Ridge, and you're up over 2,400 feet. And then Laurel Ridge, Laurel Mountain, you kind of stay at like 2,000 feet if you're driving through, and then you come up again. Laurel Mountain is the biggest mountain, I believe, in the Laurel Mountains, the highest one. It goes pretty close to 3,000 feet in areas, and most of it is between 2,400 and 2,900 feet, I guess. The very beginning is a little bit lower, and there might be a few spots where you go a little bit lower in the middle. Some of the highest areas are closer to Seven Springs. But yeah, this area is pretty high. We make a nice bench. And I do apologize if I sound like a bear. People sometimes think I'm a bear. 4 times I think I've been mistook for a bear, but yeah, I just have some allergies, and the pollen's been terrible this year, so I do apologize. If you are into geology or rocks or anything, I mean, I got my degree in geology at Edinburgh University. There are lots of fossil trees that are probably about 300 million years old in the rocks that you'll see along the trail. There's more of them, and they're bigger further south toward Ohio Powell. But there's a few of them scattered around on the north. I'm sure if you're doing the trail run, you won't be looking at that, but since I kind of went to school for that, they kind of jump out at me sometimes, even if I'm moving very fast. Okay, that's our state bird. That's a ruffed grouse. That's one of the scariest birds ever. It's like the scariest state bird. It's a completely camouflaged bird that looks like a pheasant, and it jumps out at you. It has a tendency to fly straight up in the air right in front of you when you get like 2 feet away from it. So this one, he ran away, but he made some noise and scared me a little. He wasn't as bad as they can be. But yeah, I'm glad I get to see the state bird. Hopefully, in the process of doing these videos, I'll encounter some of the wildlife. We'll see white-tailed deer. There's black bears around here. It'd be nice to see one at a safe distance. I've seen them before in the woods, but usually not in this part of the state. So many different kinds of birds. Squirrels, chipmunks, rattlesnakes. Last year when I was coming to do a training hike, which was kind of a joke, it was the only training hike I did, training run. It was 6 miles at the northern end of the trail. I just went from 70 to 67 and ended up getting a little lost, because you can get lost around mile 68 and end up doing like 11 miles. But when I first arrived, right across the road coming into the northern trailhead was a big rattlesnake. He was just stretched out across the road. The only other time I've seen a rattlesnake, a timber rattler, was on another adventure hike, I guess you'd call it, in central Pennsylvania, like near RB Winter State Park, probably 150 miles east of here. They like the mountains. In Pittsburgh in the Pittsburgh area, there's no rattlesnakes. They start to appear as you get into these mountains in the middle of the state. You kind of hear some traffic down below. It's way down there. Coming up on an area just above the city of Johnstown. Johnstown, Pennsylvania is known for being flooded very catastrophically back in 1888 when a North Fork, I believe it was a dam, it broke, and there were people communicating on telegraphs and everything, but this massive wall of water just rushed down the valley and just caused tremendous devastation. So sometimes known as Flood City. But it's rebuilt today. It looks like it's doing okay. As a result of that flood, though, back in 1888, Western Pennsylvania is one of the states that I guess has the most, or at least at one point they were the first state to have the most gauging stations and kind of the stream and dam and just water monitoring across the area, because when you have mountains and deep valleys like this, there can be flash floods. I mean, in that case, a dam burst. I've definitely seen floods where I'm at in Wexford. I thought that, what's a flash flood, what's the difference? But last year I was in the Grand Canyon, and there was this tremendous thunderstorm. I was in this little gully called Salt Creek, and so here's a nice overlook of Johnstown. I took shelter in a cave, got out of the thunderstorm, like a little notch in the sandstone. Started to walk across the gully, and right as I was about in the middle, I heard this tremendous noise and this wall of water, maybe 2 feet high, red water just come gushing down this creek, this dry creek bed that just had a trickle in it, carrying rocks and sediment and everything. I was like, oh my God. It was very, very scary. It could have sucked me up, and I mean, I don't even know the tremendous force of that water coming down from, it was probably 2,000 feet up, because we were way below the red rocks. So I got out of there in a nick of time and got into, went and stood kind of close to where I was before and waited another 40 minutes or so for the pulse of red water to dissipate, and then I crossed again. But in that situation, you have such high mountains that these entire valleys, the huge areas, drain into these concentrated areas, and it might take 20 or 30 minutes for the water from a storm to actually get to the bottom. Eventually, it ends up in the Colorado River in that case. But it was a very frightening and eye-opening experience. It's one of those things that I've seen it once, but I hope I never see it again. So back to western Pennsylvania here. We're starting to hear more traffic down below. Eventually you'll be able to hear traffic from ahead of us too, once we get about 2 miles from the end. It probably depends a little on the wind. This section of trail that runs between mile 57 I guess and 70, some of it's like the most remote and inaccessible part of the Laurel Highlands trail, because there's few access roads. I mean, there's that one road at mile 62, and there's some ATV trails and different things. So, but in general, it's pretty wild. There'll be other parts of the trail, where you're in the woods for a few miles, but you're not that far away. So now there's a raven here, big raven. I come under his tree a while ago. He's very loud, and he's flying around. I think there's 2 of them. Oh. I don't know what's scarier, that raven jumping out at you, or he was I think he was louder before, or the rough grass back there. I'm hoping to do all these videos just as one take for each mile. No blended sections or different parts glued together. So this is one of the miles that I did yesterday it wasn't good. So I threw it out, and hopefully this one will be more easy to see. And here we are, coming up on the next little signpost. Or no, maybe not. There's a lot of things that look like signposts that are not signposts. Just a stick. I know when I get this far in the race, I'll be looking for signposts everywhere, because we'll be close to the end. Still up pretty high and kind of level, just on the top of Laurel Ridge. Cloudy. It's a slight breeze starting to blow. Last year there was a lot of rain later in the day. Oh, here comes the rain, of course. It rained earlier today on me. I was up in Clarion County in Venango County, about 2 hours north of here, and It didn't rain much, so it's just one of those days. It's kind of sticky and humid and off and on rain. All these wonderful ferns, you know, in the mountains around here. Just a month ago or so, they were just coming up real fast. Oh, we got a bee, bumblebee. I have to say that the wildlife must be very photogenic, because it does seem like things are definitely making themselves present now that I got the camera on, things that I definitely didn't see before or yesterday. That's good, because I would so like to be able to have as many different animals on here as possible. Wow, that raven, he has a big territory here. I guess I'm still in his space. There's two of them now. Kind of sounds like a crow, but he's more of a squawker. So here we are, well, 67.